Welcome to our introduction multiplier event to our project Global Citizenship and Multilingual Competences, affectionately known as GCMC. The website, as some of you may have seen or may have discovered in the meantime, we'll put it in the chat box, is GCMC Global, to make it easy to remember. It's an Erasmus Plus project, and we're partway through the project at the moment. So we're sharing with you a little bit of work in progress, but we have a little bit of an agenda, if truth be known, that we'd love to have your feedback. We want to hear from you. We want your ideas. We want to see what you think of our material as we're developing it. So we're really hoping to work with you and learn with you today. Okay, so if I can ask for the next slide, please. So this is a toolkit as part of an Erasmus Plus project. We have partners in Austria, the UK, Netherlands, Italy, and Germany. The project started with the ominous year 2020, which will speak volumes to most of us. It was a bit of a bumpy start for us, but we're pleased to say that we're on target, and we've managed to get quite a lot of work done through to our dedicated partners to make sure that we made progress during this period of time. The aim of this project, so most of us involved in this project have a background, some kind of background in language teaching, and we have a strong interest in multilingualism. The interest in multilingualism goes together very well with the notion of global citizenship, and the two are quite closely connected. And we became keen to not only empower language teachers to understand more how they can incorporate global citizenship and also multilingual practices into their teaching, but also teachers of all subjects. Language teachers are a little bit privileged in the sense that we're used to discussing issues of multilingualism, and in various curricula across the globe, the notion of global citizenship is tied closely to foreign language teaching for many people anyway. So the project has got a number of aims. The first aim in the project is to develop a self-assessment tool, a reflective tool for teachers, where teachers can reflect on the different areas of competences involved. This is called our IO1. This is a bit of Erasmus speak. So IO1 refers to intellectual output number one. So we've got 3 intellectual outputs. This is Erasmus speak for the products that we create. The first one is this reflective tool, which we're going to show you in a moment. And then the second tool, IO2, or intellectual output number 2, are a series of resources that teachers can use to develop their own competencies, to teach in a global citizenship manner and multilingual way, but also then things that they can use and adapt for their teaching in their classroom. If we can perhaps go to the next slide. So just to explain how we have been working with the definitions. So the first definition, if you can, is for global citizenship education. In fact, I'll let you read it. There's no point listening to me. I'll let you just read that for a second. So this is a definition that we have embraced. And the things that I perhaps want to stress here is sort of this awareness, caring, but also then action, a sense of responsibility to act. So not just becoming aware, not just taking this notion of caring for others across the globe, but also a sense of social justice, a sense of responsibility, a willingness to act. So taking it beyond just awareness and leading it towards what kind of action can we take? What kind of action can we take as global citizens to support, for example, sustainable development goals, to enact practices that are promoting social justice, for example. The second aspect of the project is looking at how to promote multilingual pedagogies, if we could have the next definition. And I'll just let you have a little read of that for a second. So as I said before, this idea of seeing languages in a classroom as a resource, as something valuable that we can use, the notion that we switch across languages and amongst languages all the time, that's something that we do as part of our daily lives and practices. this is something that hasn't been sort of mainstream thinking in many contexts. It certainly wasn't mainstream thinking even in language teaching, let alone in other subjects which have a more distant relationship to the notion of language and language sensitivity. So one of the other aims of the project is to help develop a notion of multilingual pedagogies and how people can work with different languages, raise awareness of different languages, and see the different languages that can be in a classroom as a resource, as a valuable tool, something that we can use in how we work as teachers. Okay, next slide. For us, there was a very strong connection. So even though our backgrounds were more in the multilingual dimension of things, we saw that there was this sense that if you are aware of your multilingual identity, if you're aware of the role of languages, if you can promote the value of different languages as forms of communication, you can strengthen that. And I like the word possibility of action, this possibility of being an active, multicultural, global citizen. So for us, it was natural to bring these two things together and to try to see how we can develop them ourselves. And I don't think anybody will mind me saying that I've been learning an enormous amount during the project. So it wasn't something that I came to with a fixed set of notions and a fixed understanding, but through the project, through the work with the colleagues in the different countries, we've come to an understanding, or I have come to a greater understanding of this relationship and how this relates to my own practice as a teacher. I realized that what I should have probably done at the beginning, and my deep apologies, I didn't even introduce myself or any of the team. I shouldn't be allowed to teach. What do I know? My name is Sarah Mercer. I apologize for introducing myself after I got into the stuff I was excited about. I'm one of the principal investigators on the project, and I work at the University of Graz in Austria. At the top of the screen, or bottom of your screen, or side of your screen, depending how you've got the cameras, we've got three of my colleagues. And if you perhaps want to introduce yourselves, I apologize I didn't do this earlier and I've completely disrupted the flow of this now. First of all, the first person I can see in my view is Anna, if you just want to introduce yourself briefly.
Yes, hello, thank you, Sarah. So I'm Anna Bevan from the University of Bologna, and I'm one of the team members on this project. Claudia, my colleague.
Yes, I'm Claudia Borghetti, and I work at the University of Bologna with Anna.
And Sonia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia Babic, and I'm a part of the Graz team.
And Joanna.
Hello, everybody. I'm Johanna, and I also work with the Graz team.
Oh, you see, they're all secretly appearing now. There are other members of our team lurking, you see. There's Jan. Jan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Jan, and I work at Mercator and Frieske Academie in the Netherlands, and I'm part of the project since this year.
Thank you so much. And then the last one that was hiding there is Salam. Salam, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Salam. I'm from Team Graz. Thank you.
So as you see, we're a multicultural team. It's been a wonderful team to work together with. We actually had our very first meeting in person only a few weeks ago in Bologna. And it was nice after working together for a year and a half to finally meet in person. So you see that we've been working together. We've been trying to look at our understanding of global citizenship education, our understanding of multilingual pedagogies, and think about ways that we can incorporate those in our teaching, not just for ourselves, but to share those with others through our teacher education project. With these three outputs, the first one being this reflective tool, the second one, the teacher development, professional development resources and teaching tools, and the third one will be a manual how to use all of it together. I'm going to pass on now to my colleague Sonia Babic, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the first one, the first output, which is this reflective tool that we've designed. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sarah. First of all, welcome everyone. I will briefly introduce our first intellectual output that we call IO1, so that you know if you see IO1, IO2, they refer to intellectual outputs. And the first one is the framework and self-reflective tool for teacher competences. And this framework is intended for teachers' self-reflection about their values, their attitudes, also their knowledge and skills about teaching global citizenship, and also about multilingual competences. So to design this framework, we decided to collect examples of good practice. Now, our initial idea was to go into schools in the partner countries and observe these good practices. However, as you can imagine, we were prevented with the global outbreak. So we moved on with our plan B, and that was to interview teachers who already employ, we call them GCMC, so Global Citizenship and Multilingual Competences, in their classrooms and learn from them, learn from their experiences. So we interviewed teachers, school teachers, and also teacher educators. So after that, we also designed a survey to learn from teachers from across the world. So the interviews we conducted with teachers from the partner countries, so from Austria, Italy, the Netherlands, and the UK. And with the survey, we wanted to go global and understand teachers and how they implement GCMC in their classrooms from all over the world. Therefore, to design this framework, we drew on the interviews, on the quantitative data, and on the literature. So the framework was informed from these three different sources. I have to say that this framework is available online for free. It comes actually in interactive version and static version. Interactive version is in English, and you can see your scores. You will see that in very shortly. And the static version we developed in different languages, actually in 8 languages, and these include Dutch, English, Frisian, German, Indonesian, Italian, Serbian, and Spanish. So when we show you the resources, the framework, you will get a chance to see it in English, but if you prefer, you can also see these in all these different languages. Okay, please, next slide. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, the framework consists of teachers' values, their attitudes, knowledge, and skills, which we shortly call VAKS. So we drew on the OECD position paper called OECD Future Education and Skills for 2030, and they include the VAKS, so the values, attitudes, and knowledge, and we also thought that skills are quite important. So before we show you the framework, I will just explain what we mean by these terms. And I'm not sure if this is too small, so I will explain each of them in turn. So values are our guiding principles that underpin what people believe that's important when they make decisions of their both private and public life. So values determine what people will prioritize when they make a judgment. Attitudes are underpinned by our values and beliefs, and they influence our behavior and how we will react towards something. So this will then be dependent on the situation, but also on the person. Knowledge is about our understanding or the information that we have collected through our experience or studying a certain field. And knowledge can refer to one person or to the collective. And finally, the skills are individuals' abilities, and they can include our cognitive, metacognitive skills, also very important for teaching and for teachers, our social and emotional skills, and also physical and practical skills. So altogether, they make up the VAKS framework. So with this framework, teachers can assess their own VAKS competences and see where they are in terms of these competences, and then develop their VAKS further. So we believe that teachers who score high on VAKS are probably going to implement, or they're already implementing these competences in their classroom and in their practices. Now I will actually show you how this framework looks like. Can we please go to the next slide? Okay, so this is how our lovely design looks like. When we move to breakout rooms, I will, or each of us will share the link, or you will be able to scan a QR code that will lead you to the framework. Our lovely colleagues from Bologna will assign us now to breakout rooms. It will last for 20 minutes. First, we will look at the framework, and then we will have a chance to discuss it within the breakout rooms. And then when we come back, we can all share our impressions and our experiences. Okay. Okay, so see everyone shortly. Okay, I will now share my screen so that you can see the questions that we would be very interested to hear. In the breakout rooms, we have just discussed these questions, and you got a chance to work with the framework for a little while. So now we would be very interesting to hear your experiences with this, and if you can share. We have several questions here, but you don't have to answer in this order, so please let us know, what do you think about the framework? Is there anything missing, or what do you like about it? Is it attractive? How easy it is to work with it? So yeah, please share with all of us.
Maybe if you're feeling shy about putting your camera on or talking to us on the mic, you can use the chat box as well.
Exactly.
I was just reporting on my teaching situation in my classroom, which is actually quite the opposite of a multilingual classroom, unfortunately, because I teach in a very rural area in Syria, and we have mostly kids whose language is L1 German. So we don't have this multilingual classroom. So when I used the tool, I had to give myself a very low score in places, because if the statement is like, I use the multilingual resources of my students, I cannot give myself a high score, right? So that's something that I find a little bit missing, but I understand that the logic of the tool is not to have someone tick a box saying does not represent my teaching situation. I get that. So all in all, it's a very interesting and easily accessible tool. And I find it very motivating that in the end, you see how your score rises if you give yourself more points or less. It's quite fun to use.
Can I just ask, do your students, but your students learn English, right?
Sure, but I understood multilingualism, like if you have kids whose second language would be, I don't know, French or Turkish or anything like that, I would bring in more, I don't know, I could, for example, if you're asking question number 5, bring in music that uses both languages in one song text or something. This is stuff that I would do. And I do that with Spanish because I teach Spanish as well. But in terms of L1 and L2, if we keep talking or discussing this term, I would say that they don't have a second native language. That's what I was just referring to.
But I think it's actually, I'm really glad that you raised this, because I think this is a really interesting question about what we mean by multilingual read, because your kids, you've just talked about German, English, and Spanish that they're using and learning in school. So that's, for me, pretty multilingual, considering that, you know, I come from the UK, where we have an even stronger notion of monolingualism. So I think you maybe actually have more linguistic resources. Maybe it's just, and I'm glad that you raised it, maybe it's the way that we're notionalizing or conveying this notion of multilingual competence.
Yeah, I guess that my idea was just too narrow, but it's good we're talking. You're right.
No,
I mean,
I'm really glad you said
totally.
it. I'm really glad you said it, Cassie, because I can see why you would say that, and it's only, for me, quite honestly, it's only with working with the project that it's made me realize that actually there's a lot of languages and diverse languages around, and also words we know and use from different languages, and that we can explore language as something exciting that exists around us in all kinds of forms. And particularly, I know at your school, you mentioned 3 languages they speak. That's something to be celebrated.
Yeah, I agree. We also teach Italian. That's very nice. And when I teach Spanish, I always say, if you don't understand the word, try to pronounce it in English, and then if you know the English word, you can easily come up with the meaning in German, because it's so similar. So in that way, we do use the different resources. Oh God, my score is going higher and higher.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you so much, Kati, for sharing. I was wondering if anyone had tried the static versions in different languages, and if yes, what did you think of these? Or not. I am also interested, because Kati was in our group, and thank you so much, Kati, for raising these issues. It's interesting to think in this way. What did other groups discuss?
I'll report on behalf of my group that I led. So my group felt that it was easy to understand. So I sent the interactive version, and they felt it was easy to understand. And one thing that I thought was very interesting is that we discussed whether some people would just feel that they should rate themselves 100% on everything, and how honest people were. And then we just discussed the eye-opening component of our framework, and that it's just about thinking about it, seeing all the facets, and so on. So that's what we discussed in my group.
Very good. That's very good to hear, because that's the point of this framework, to reflect on your own understanding, on your own values and attitudes, also knowledge and skills in regards to global citizenship and multilingualism as well. So that's good to hear. That's very good to hear. Okay, how are we doing with time, Anna and Claudia?
Yeah, maybe we can move on to the next part, which is actually showing some of the materials that we have produced.
Yeah, I will give a short introduction first. This time we are talking about output too, but don't worry, it's easier than expected. I'll show the slides just a second. I'm trying to, because, okay, here we are. Yeah, now the project we are still developing these resources, and I'm introducing you to our big, challenging, fascinating work in progress. Here you can see summarized what we are working on. We are developing 5 modules, 5 online interactive modules for teachers' professional development. Basically, teachers can access the project website and log in and carry out these activities, which serve to teacher training in order to familiarize with the concept of global citizenship and how to use and to enjoy multilingualism in their classes as well, in different fields, in different disciplines. So these modules are interactive online. Teachers are invited to access the website. They can all use of course, the resources individually, but it's nice if the teachers can collaborate, because there are many tasks within this very interactive training package, which are more useful if you can, exchange your idea with your colleagues within, also of different disciplines, of course, not only in the same area. And as you can see, there are 5 modules for the teachers, but there are also 5 corresponding modules for the teaching. Because what the teachers learn or develop in the teacher developmental part, then they can use those competencies directly in their classes, because we are providing the teaching activities, teaching modules, actually 5 teaching modules, which are where teachers can find practical ideas, suggestions, several kinds of guidelines, and also concrete examples like handouts. And during the breakout rooms in a minute, you will see some of these handouts, and multilingual handouts, at least in the project 5 languages. And then, so as you can see, we are working on developing the teacher competencies, at the same time creating a direct link with their classes, because it is a challenging thing. I mean, working on multilingualism and at the same time in different disciplines. So teachers, we are aware, need a strong support, in the training developmental part. And very, very briefly about the contents, because I don't want to, I want to have time in the breakout rooms where you will experience some concrete ideas taken from the teaching part. So the ideas for the class, for the students. I mentioned five modules. The first one, especially in the training part, is really the introduction, because in the first module, the teachers and also the students are introduced in an interactive, enjoyable way to the key concepts of the project. So global citizenship and multilingual competencies. So they are, encouraged to think what a global citizen is in concrete terms, what we are supposed to do and to be in order to consider ourselves global citizens. There's then the second module is, we call it eco-literacy, because it is understanding how the environment is linked to our own lives and make a change. So we need to understand in order to take action. And in this specific module, the students are introduced to key terms and concepts, climate crisis, you can see this in the slide, biodiversity loss, pollution, and waste management, and so on, reflecting on their own practices, linking their own lives with the global issues, local and global, so close to them and far away in the world, and see how they are all linked. Third module, it's about critical reading. Critical reading is at the basis of at least 2 different modules. This is the first, questioning images, because now today we are exposed to many images in newspapers, in magazines, social media, the TV, and so on. So we need to have critical skills to unpack to the representations of diversity, for example, because stereotypes are created and recreated mainly through visual representation. So the students are invited to reading critically these images. Then the fourth module is make it clear what is included in basically in all modules, because the focus here is on multilingualism, while, as I mentioned, multilingualism is everywhere in the training and teaching package. But this specific module focus on this, making clear for the students some key notions, and in order to make them aware how valuable is their own plurilingual repertoire, the others' plurilingual repertoires. The last one, number 5, the fake news. Critical reading is being powerful, empowered, in order to deconstruct, information in general, especially when they are, tools for propaganda, for example. Just one last word about the methods, because I wanted to make clear that these are many awareness activities within the teaching package when the students are invited to reflect on their own practices through checklists, for example. But most of the teaching package focuses on collaborative work in pairs, within discussion groups, which is very nice also for the class climate, in order to learn how to talk about very sensible issues without getting angry, for example, because it's very ideological topic, of course. And then there are some discussion studies, the 2 arrow, where they are asked to assume opposite positions on very delicate issues. So it can be also used for, let's say, language education, for argumentative writing, for example. Then the other part of the slide, you can see some activities are focused on web searches. So we asked the groups of students to make research on the web in order to feed the class discussion. Sometimes we propose problem-solving activities, and you see the map there, or changing assumptions and taking a position on very challenging issues. One last word: everything we are producing must be adapted to local contexts, local and global. So the teachers are invited to reflect on these issues, but at the same time to contextualize them in their own teaching practices, the discipline, the school, the local, national area, and their specific learners, of course. So the teaching package in particular is provided in a Word format in order for the teachers to change our own proposals. And that's it. The introduction is over now. Anna now is sending us through to 3 different breakout rooms where you will have a little taste of some of the modules we are developing. Please provide as much feedback as possible, because we are really in the process of fine-tuning these resources. So your opinion is really important for us. Thank you